everybody, this is Jason Ricci. Today we're going to be looking at my pedal board. Here's my pedal board here. Just to give you an idea of the size of it, here's my body, here's the pedal board here, as you can see. The board itself is made by a company called Pedal Pad. It's a couple nice things. It's solid, has good corners on it, has some little feet. The hinges are really well made, and the handle is leather. That's nice. The old pedal pads did not have leather handles. This one does. So now let's come over here, take a look at the board itself as it sits when I play it. Okay, the top of the pedal board is the road case itself, which is nice. So I just hit these awesome little hinges that come off. And then the board opens up. Dun, dun, dun. Top comes off. I can use this to baffle the back of my amp or the front of my amp or whatever I need to. Here are my cables that I use. This one is used to plug in the pedal board itself and power the pedals. All of the power is wired to the back of the board. All right. Pedal pad, put that power out where I requested it. I could have had it anywhere I wanted. It came customized like that. So I'm now going to plug the board in. And boom, everything lights up. Next step, setting up my board when I'm at the gig, is just unwind my cable, plug my cable into the jack, which is wired into the board itself. So my last pedal goes out into a female 1/4 inch inside of this, and then I come right out and I plug right into the board, so I don't have to plug in and out of pedals, wearing out jacks on the pedal. So I just plug into that. Much easier, less dangerous, less harm to the pedals, and then plug this into my amplifier. Here's my amp. It's a Harp Gear HG50. I have the shield in front of it to baffle it so that it's not too loud for the video camera, hopefully. The amp is a HG50 by Harp Gear. Take a look at it for a second. It's a 410, and it's really cool. The amp is currently not made anymore. This is the same amp I used at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Zach Brown and Tom Morello and the Paul Schaefer Orchestra. You can see it still has a sticker there. It stands for Paul Butterfield Blues Band Jason, designated stage right. 410 amplifier. Throw some cables in the bottom of it. It's got 2 Webers on the bottom, 2 Jensens on the top. That's my rig. And let's take a look at the pedal board itself. Okay, so here's the inside of the pedal board. This is actually only the top layer of the pedal board, which has some of the pedals that I like to be able to control the switches on. The pedals that I don't need to control, the ones that I set and either engage with my looper switcher, or which I'll explain later, or leave on all the time, are stored underneath the pedal board. You can notice I've done a really neat job of wiring this up so that it stays somewhat sturdy and doesn't get messed up, or if something breaks, it's easy for me to understand which wire to go. I didn't actually color coordinate the wires, but that would have been a nice thing to do. All right, so underneath here we have my 2 power supplies. They're made by a company called Voodoo Lab. I'm not endorsed with them. Let me give you the breakdown on what's good about them. So they give isolated power to every one of my pedals. I don't have to use batteries. And isolated power means that each pedal gets its own isolated 9-volt outlet, which means that there is not going to be any distortion or signal loss by engaging that pedal, and that the pedal gets the full amount of power needed to push it. So there's the 2 Voodoo Labs. I need 2 of them to power my board. This one only has 8 out on it. This one has 5 out on it, I believe. And I have 11 pedals, including my wireless system, to power, so 8's not going to do it. There are other there are other power supplies out there that are great. There's advantages and disadvantages to them. The reason that I'm using the Voodoo Lab is mostly because of the advantage of the AC out on it. I'm able to plug my wireless, which is 15.5 volts, and into the back of this, because these are only 9 and 12 volt out. I have an 18 volt out on this. I don't think it would be safe to run 18 volts through the wireless. Maybe it would, but it's now getting exactly the amount of power it needs by being plugged into the back of the Voodoo Lab. The drawback to the Voodoo Labs is you can't switch to European power. Something like the Strymon power supply, all I would have to do is use a European power cord, and I would be able to do that. So I'll tell you more about these other pedals down here as we go. Okay, so let's go back to the top of the board. So the first thing I'm doing is running out of the wireless. I'm using a Lone Wolf Jason Ricci signature microphone, which is available from Lone Wolf. That's www.lonewolfblues.com. It's a low Z microphone. I'm using a wireless XLR out made by Samson. Here is the receiver end. This is the transmitter end. Can plug into any XLR mic. They also make 1/4 inches. There are wirelesses out there now that are smaller than this and maybe better. I just haven't investigated it because this one's still working for me, and I'm happy with it. Going back to the board itself, so the board is made by a company called Pedal Pad out of Topeka, Kansas. You saw the outside of the board, which is the advantage, is it's a road case and the board is in here, as opposed to a separate board that needs to be placed into a road case. The other advantage is this hinging system, which enables me to open it up, store pedals underneath, and then control those pedals with my looper switcher. So that's really cool. That's a big advantage of it. Some of the disadvantages of this board are, number one, it's heavy and big and bulky, but I can still fit a ton more pedals into a smaller area by putting them underneath there. So as big as it is, it's half the board I used to carry around, and it takes up a much smaller space on the stage. So that's a great thing about it. What are some of the disadvantages? First of all, the website said to wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks for the pedal board. I think I waited anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks. It finally came. It came as described, and it works great. Another disadvantage of the pedal board that I didn't think about before is it has felt on the bottom, not Velcro. It has Velcro on the top. So these pedals are very strong. I can grab them and lift up the top, and they've never come off, ever. The Velcro is great. However, the felt on the bottom isn't quite as sticky. So these pedals, if the pedal board gets banged around in the back of the van or carrying it through the airport or something, these pedals come loose. So what I have to do is take all these pedals out, cut the felt out, and add Velcro in order for them to be as secure as the ones on the top. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage. The pedal board that I like the most is made by a company called Schmidt Array out of Germany. I just can't afford them, even with a discount. I can't afford them. They're just expensive, but they're worth every penny if you have the money. I just don't. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the pedal board itself and how it sounds. So again, I'm running into a 410 Bassman style amp, which is the HG50. The first thing I'm coming out of is the wireless. From the wireless, I'm coming into this pedal here, the Harp Shield. I had to move my amplifier into the other room because it was distorting, and I had to turn the amplifier down. Hopefully the amplifier doesn't distort too much for the video. We were talking about the Harp Shield and what it does. It's essentially a gate, and what that means is that the pedal itself compresses, or shortens the signal. So as soon as I'm not playing, it cuts the signal out so that nothing can come into my microphone. By the way, again, I'm using a Lone Wolf Jason Ricci signature microphone. This particular Harp break has an on and off switch. That's a mod that I suggested that Lone Wolf do. It's an easy mod to do. They'll probably do yours for you for a few extra bucks, or they may even start making them now with the on and off switch working. The reason I turn it off sometimes, if I have the pedal turned up pretty high, the sensitivity knob, it only has one knob, and that's how, how fast it engages its gate, how fast it gates your signal. And I attempt to play a short vibrato or a soft vibrato. Like that. It'll actually gate the vibrato. I really don't play that hard anyway, and it works fine all the other times. That's my tone with no pedals on at all. If you see the lights on these, that's because they're in the looper switcher. They're not actually on. I'm not even going through them. They're in the looper switcher and they're completely out of my signal. Okay, but they are on, but they're not engaged, okay? So the only pedal I'm playing through right now is, well, the wireless and then the Harp Shield. The Harp Shield is a great anti-feedback solution. It does have the one drawback of gating soft notes. Of course, you can always have them put the mod on it and then turn your mic down, and then you can play as soft or as loud as you want. Again, it's no problem when you're playing pretty much at normal levels. The next pedal in my chain is the Clean Cat. The Clean Cat is a clean boost. I run it before my harp break or my compression, which is a little bit unorthodox, but that's where I think it sounds best. You can experiment with it in different positions and you'll definitely get different results. All right, the pedal itself just adds a slight boost. If you only bought one pedal, if you're a kind of guy that doesn't like pedals, the Clean Cat would be a wonderful first pedal for you to get. It'll take an amplifier that just doesn't have that crunch to it and give it just a little bit. But if you're looking for a pedal to really reshape your tone, that brings us to the Harp break. The Harp break is an extremely versatile preamp or distortion pedal designed specifically for harmonica by the Lone Wolf brand out of Hammond, Louisiana. The pedal engaged sound, here's what it sounds like off again. And here's what it sounds like with the break on. And off. So it's a wonderful distortion pedal. One of the great things about it is this bass boost knob. If I turn this all the way up, it really sounds crazy. A lot of volume and bass can come out of this pedal. It compresses a little bit, but not as much as the the Flat Cat. Another Lone Wolf pedal. It's another Jason Ricci signature pedal. It's an optical compressor. What does an optical compressor do? Well, on a harmonica, bend notes and blow notes and draw notes all have different values in timbre and also even different volumes. If you bend the 2 draw or the 3 draw, or if you play a chord on 3 draw, it'll often be louder if you don't have some sort of compression. The other thing that compression is good for is if you're using a low impedance microphone like a 57, a 58, a Jason Ricci signature microphone, okay, or the Audix Fireball, or any of those microphones. What it does is it gives you all of the compression that a bullet mic would give you, except you can control it. So it's like having the combination of this pedal here, the Jason Ricci Flat Cat, and the Harp break is like having literally a couple dozen or more bullet mics at the turn of a knob. So I can, have a hotter signal, a more distorted signal, a more compressed signal. It's almost like having a couple of different amps too, really. So I can take any amplifier and basically make it sound like me. I can play through a twin, a deluxe, a super reverb, right? Any Fender tube amplifier, I can basically get the same tone out of by just having the right compression pedal and the right preamp. And for me, those are the Lone Wolf brand. All right, so anyway, this is my core tone. In other words, these are the pedals that are always on. The Harp Shield, the Harp Break, and the the Flat Cat. If I want a little extra boost, I step on the Clean Cat. That's what's going on with my tone shaping pedals. Tone shaping pedals are my preamp and my compression. All right, the rest of the pedals are a lot of fun. So the next one in the chain is hooked into this thing here called a looper switcher. A looper switcher is a device where you plug your pedals into and it takes them out of the chain. What do I mean by that? What I mean by is if I were to run through all of these pedals, I would have 11 pedals that I was going through, even if they were off, okay, that would be diminishing the signal into my amplifier. It wouldn't necessarily be messing with my tone, but it might a little bit, right? It could certainly darken my tone or brown my tone. Some people like that sound. Basically, I like to have the cleanest representation of my signal as I possibly can. And a looper switcher takes these pedals out of the chain and puts them into this so that the only time that the pedal is engaged or is part of my signal is when I step on it. That's a huge advantage. The other advantage is I can store pedals underneath my pedal board. So pedals that I have the settings already figured out that I don't change, like my chorus I don't change, my Maxon Ottawa I don't change, my short delay by my carbon copy I don't change. I can engage these pedals very easily by stepping on the looper switcher, which is great too because it's less wear and tear on the pedal. This Pitchfork has a little latch knob on it. That means that like when I step on it, it goes on and then it goes off as soon as I take pressure off of. I accidentally step on that latch knob all the time. With the looper switcher, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not even stepping on the pedal. So I'm not worried about switching a switch or hitting a setting with my foot. I just step on this and the pedal goes in. So the first pedal on this green knob here, these are little plastic knobs that you can buy off of eBay and put onto any of your pedals if you like. You see I got them on the Reverb and other stuff that I step on. The Maxon Ottawa. The Maxon Ottawa is a Maxon AF9 envelope filter. All right, we call it an Ottawa for slang. I set the sensitivity almost all the way up. That's the left-hand slider. The right-hand slider, the peak, is almost all the way down. My filter, I have all the way down. My drive, I have all the way up. And the last knob, I have all the way up too. People ask me all the time how I set that pedal. That's how I set it. It's very conservative. All right, here's a lick without the pedal. Here's with the pedal. Now, the Maxon is going to jump your volume up a little bit, so it's kind of necessary to have a volume control on your microphone so that you can lower the signal so that when you step on the Maxon, your volume doesn't double. All right, now it doesn't really double, but it's a significant jump up. Hopefully it didn't distort on the microphone. Anyway, it's a great pedal, especially if you're into playing funk or jazz. You might dig it. The next pedal in my looper switcher is the pitchfork. The pitchfork is made by Electro Harmonix. They make a variety of octave style effects, most famously the POG, the micro POG. POG stands for Polyphonic Octave Generator. This pedal does some of what that pedal does. Here's closest I can get it to sounding like the POG. So here's without the pedal. Here's with it. So if I were, you got to turn the volume down when you're not using it on your microphone. So if I, it does an octave sound great. It's not as great as the POG pedal is. The POG pedal sounded much better to my ears for the particular octave sound. It has this nice blend knob on it, so you can add as much or a little of the effect as you want. So that takes all the harmonica out. If I back this off, right, I can control the amount of the effect that's heard. So if I want to be a little bit more conservative with it, I can. If I want it just sounds straight up like an organ, I can. The reason that I've used this pedal and not the POG or the micro POG or the big POG is because of some of the other things that it does. So it has the ability to produce a lower frequency octave than the POG does, and it sounds really cool. Here's what it sounds like. Here's without. Here's with. So it gives you this sub octave, this lower sub sound that's really cool, and it can go lower than that. If I drop it down one more turn. Very cool. Very fun pedal, very versatile. So I don't actually ever step on the pedal, I just step on the looper switcher and engage it. The next pedal in the chain of the looper switcher is the Lone Wolf Chorus. It's a brand new pedal, it's not even out yet. This is the first prototype, and I'm lucky enough to have it on my board. It's a digital chorus, so the chorus is very prominent. It doesn't really sound very digital. It sounds very pleasing, very mild. Again, I have it set fairly conservatively. Let's take a listen. Here's a lick without the chorus. Here's the lick with the chorus. So it's set real mild right now, but if I cranked it up a little bit, you'll really hear it. I can control the depth, the amount of the effect that's present. Right? I wouldn't normally use that much. I just give it gives me a little bit of that organ sound. It just makes my harmonica sound a little bit more modern. Paul DeLay used chorus. Billy Branch sometimes uses chorus. Carrie Bell used chorus. And a lot of guys did before me. It was one of the first harmonica pedals, or one of the first pedals that harmonica players started using. Anyway, the Lone Wolf is a very good option for that. There are, of course, other options, but that one's made just for harmonica, and it's really easy to set. It won't take you much time to figure out how you like it. The next pedal I have is the Carbon Copy. It's a true analog delay pedal. I have it, again, set very conservatively. Here it is without the effect. I'll turn the reverb off so we don't get any extra verb essence, right? So here's a straight lick to show you exactly what the Carbon Copy is doing. So that's my short delay. The reason I have two delays is it's too hard for me in the middle of a show to reach down and change the amount of delay. I can add a lot more delay on the Carbon Copy, and here's what it sounds like. This is still a conservative amount. This is still relatively short delay. So it's a modern sounding delay pedal. Lone Wolf makes some that sound a little bit more like the old Chess Records delay. I myself prefer a little bit more of a modern sound, so I don't use those pedals. But I like them, and I have used them on recordings. So that's my short delay by Dunlop MXR. The next pedal up is the Flashback. The Flashback is a super delay pedal that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different functions. It has a loop function so I can record myself and then play over it, and it has a mod function so I can actually download with my cell phone a different effect into the pedal. Josh Smith had a hand in making this for TC Electronics. That's the brand. I run it on the analog delay setting. It's a digital pedal, but it sounds very good. It sounds very analog. And here's what it sounds like. So here's a lick without the pedal. And here's with. I could set it even longer. You can hear it picking my voice up. So, very cool pedal, very beautiful delay. I'm going to turn it back down a little bit. Last but not least is the Harp Reverb. The Harp Reverb is a wonderful pedal. I leave it on most of the night, but here's what it sounds like with and without. Here's without. And here it is on. If I turn the reverb all the way up, and it'll be a little bit more dramatic, off. On. As subtle as that is, I even run a little less. This is the spring tone. This is the reverb. The Harp Reverb will stand up against any outboard reverb device for my money. It's an amazing pedal that does very amazing reverb effects in a tiny, small package. You know, it's a big pedal, but it's nothing compared to hauling around a reverb tank. And it sounds great. And it's specifically designed for harmonica with not too much reverb available, right? You don't really need any more than that. The last thing that I didn't really talk about is the Sonic Stomp. It's a sonic EQ. It basically attempts to solve the problems of low frequencies and high frequencies traveling at different speeds and thus hitting the ear at different speeds, which the ear then interprets as mud. The Sonic Stomp has a high frequency knob and a low frequency knob. They make this pedal in a mini version and a larger. I don't know if there's really any difference in the way they sound. I'm using the small one just to have more real estate, but it's pretty dramatic. Here's the difference with it off, and here's the difference with it on. Off. On. So it cleans up my signal a lot. The last thing I'm going to show you guys before I go, just to have some fun, is what you can do by combining effects. So, you know, keep in mind, I started off with one pedal, guys. I started off with a compression pedal. That was the first pedal I ever started using. I started using that when I started using a 57. That was around the year of 1997. Then I added a delay pedal, and then I added the harp break eventually. And, you know, I came up with some different ideas. And then, you know, I got into all this fun stuff, and then finally, most recently, looper switchers, which has been a huge breakthrough for me. Anyway, the cool thing is different pedals are going to sound different together. One of my favorite combinations is the auto wah with the flashback long delay. I'm switching harmonicas to use F Suzuki Manji made by Tom Halchek from Blue Moon Harmonicas. A little chorus. I'm using the Dorian mode in cross harp. So I really like that. The auto-wah with the long delay. It's a big part of my sound lately. The other one I like combining a lot too is the octave effect, particularly the traditional octave that I used to get the sound, the pog kind of sound out of here. And mixing that with chorus. Switch to an A harp by Blue Moon. Here's the octave by itself with the chorus. Very cool. So you can mix and match these effects and get different ideas. You know, chorus with the auto-wah, or you know, the octave with the auto-wah. All kinds of different stuff, and it's fun. It makes you play. I hope you had a great time watching my video. That's my board. It's nowhere near where I want it to be yet, but I'm really proud of what I got so far. It's working super good for me. Special thanks to Blue Moon Harmonicas and the Lone Wolf Blues Company for helping me out all these years to come up with a unique and exciting harmonica tone, and that's very adventurous and very versatile. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.